G'day, Mark here again. I've got some good news today. I've got a bit of a talk to do, but we've got the beginnings of the process, a real start to the process of creating a group to be able to start to push back against the overreach from government, our bureaucracy and elected and unelected side of government that is really starting to steal our freedoms in every sense, which is at a pinnacle at this moment for the West Australian licensed firearm community, who are literally having to surrender firearms, having to give up shooting, having to walk away through the legal processes that are in play, through the change of regulations, and in some cases just simply the pressure they feel under of the way this whole system has happened. And like I said, a monstrous overreach of, at this stage, both our government and our West Australian police force fixing a problem that they don't have, and actually punishing or persecuting probably the most law-abiding members of their citizens that they actually have, the firearms owners. People have always had to do so much of the right thing, and yet are getting targeted, like I said, to fix the problem that doesn't exist. Now, I can go on about the hypocrisies, the mess of the system, the people that are losing their firearms right at the moment, under the brackets of the new regulations and the new laws or regulations they put in. They can't even operate. The system isn't even operating. So people can't even use the portals and things because they're not operating. But people are still having to hand in firearms because licenses are coming due. And in a lot of cases, it's just the pressure they feel under, the feeling like a criminal, that they've done so much in their lives to do the right thing, and then being essentially tortured into a place of, I just want to walk away. They're giving up. But it's a lot more than giving up firearms, as some people might see it. In some cases, this is surrender to everything they actually have. What's the point of all this if this is what my country has turned into? Now, I don't want to go too much more into the pointing all the negatives out at the moment, that it's being done all the time. We'll have to do it more in places. But this is an organisation to try or to start to, and I don't mean try, I believe we can do a lot to start to push back. Now, in the brackets of how big this should be, this is West Australia right at this moment for sure. But any gun owner, any licensed gun owner in Australia would have to realise that to the largest degree, West Australia is simply the canary in the coal mine. They're seeing what's happening here. Police forces all over Australia are doing their things in pushing into this already. This is happening all over the place. If you're not aware of it, you should be aware of it. The fiasco that just happened a couple of days ago, Bruce Highway in Queensland, where some licensed gun owners were shooting on target property, everything right, but because someone heard some gunshots, they head right out to the SWAT team, military people running around with trying to sort out firearms. And you could say a massive overreaction. Now, listen, a little bit like a police force that wants to point out how serious it is that civilians own firearms, might be making a point there also. So there's situations I can talk about all over Australia, but they are things that are happening. This is coming everywhere. And I suppose when it's just firearms, I'm thinking so much bigger than that. I know so many other things are so much bigger than that. We obviously have the keep the sheet side of things that's going on in the way of a real attack on farmers of Western Australia and of Australia. That's where that's heading to. But every other one of our freedoms in so many different ways, been through it 1,000 times, whether it's bushwalkers or it's four-wheel drivers or it's car enthusiasts or it's parents and what happens in your kids' schools, or it's pretty much every other freedom we've ever had, fishing, farming, all the rest of it. If you look at those and realise that in actual fact the one they're attacking the most in the try and shut the whole thing down is firearms, you'd have to understand that the firearms community is the canary in the firearms to pretty much everyone else of your freedoms. So I'm not going to go into too much more of that sort of stuff. There's lots of situations, there's lots of perspectives to put into that. But what are we actually creating? What are we putting forward here? Well, started 6 weeks ago, just after the election, just after the hope of political parties of being able to help in this situation had pretty much diminished. And in my honest feelings on the subject is political parties aren't really able to do very much in the situation we're in. Our political system is broken. It's savagely broken. If you can't see that, then look at Western Australia. We've had a government that hasn't been doing the right things in so many different fashions, and they've voted back in. So everyone said, okay, West Australians, you're just weak, or they're just not in control. You don't know what's going on. Well, nationally, has there been a worse Prime Minister than what we have now, and voted back in again. And yes, you can look at the other side of the fence and say that, okay, the Liberal side of things put up an absolutely pathetic fight, and you're right. Some might say that it was actually deliberate in that process. I would say our system is broken. It's monstrously broken. Our political system's broken. No matter how you go forward with this, it's set up to fail. You can call it rigged from I suppose the nature of the beast is what it is, with a media system that is so far on one side of the fence, a political system that all comes from one side of the fence, because of our universities, because of our schools, because of all that side of things. It's in trouble. So to fix it, we need to have some power, as simple as that. We need to have a lot of power. There are a lot of people in Australia. If we can wake them up, there's already a fair few woken up. If we can wake them up, then we can get to a place where we carry some weight, where we need to be strong as numbers of people. We need to be well managed so that we can use our people, we can use our forces for our good. And we also need to be financial, so we have the ability to manage that properly. So the plan, as it sits at the moment, is to be not a political party. This is to be like I said, an organisation, a group, however you want to term that, but it to be where we get together and we can work for each other's values and rights. So at this moment, the crisis we're starting with is the West Australian firearm community, and working a way to get our police minister and our government and our police to push things back. They've gone way too far in a system they can't even organise, they can't run, organised in a completely undemocratic, basically where the police have cherry-picked what they want and put it in place regardless of how practical it is, regardless of the problem they don't have. This is what they want, with a very clear mandate to remove firearms from civilians. If you want to do a basic read of and go into in between the lines, that's obviously the process they're at. So that's our crisis point to start with. Now it should grow into a lot more than that. It should grow into where the firearms owners can be part of helping to keep the sheep, or the four-wheel drives, and we can have where we're working together. We need a big group to coordinate this. And in that same sense, the logic of what we're working at the moment, and there's basically four people who are really pushing at this moment to actually create things and do the legwork. This is all happening in a volunteer thing at this second, but there's Steve Harrison, there's Nick Tonkin, there's there's Louise Kingston, which I've introduced before. She was a member, so I should introduce the people. Steve Harrison is a person who he's the affiliate for, or delegate for, Shooters Union in Western Australia. But way more than that, he's tried to be involved with, or he has been involved with, the Libertarians. He's very, very passionate about trying to make our world work again in what fashion he can. And he's prepared to be dedicated to this organisation, and certainly that's where all his legwork is going into it. Shooters Union have blessed him to go and do that rather than do that sort of stuff there. We're still growing this at this process. He's ex-police, been round guns and recreational shooting and the police system for his whole life. So there's a guy with a lot of experiences on our side. We have Louise Kingston, who's a person, obviously she was a member, she didn't get voted in this time, but she's been involved in saving other things, like local speedway. She was one of the people, or the person, that really managed to organise that government back on side. There's also to do with forestry, there's also to do with other bits and pieces in there. She's quite experienced at this process and has a lot of passion about it as well. She's recently been through a family crisis at this moment, so that's why things have taken a little bit longer. So she's been through a fair bit of extra stuff, apart from finishing off on the parliamentary side of things, but that's her, and a very good person to have on our side. The Nick Tonkin, he's experienced, he's worked in the government organisations, he's worked in building a lot, I think the government administration side of things, has a lot of understanding of how those systems work. He's also done a lot of organising with organisations and in helping getting things started. So the person has put his hand up to be a person to help involved with this beginning of things. And it's ended up, I was staying clear of this, but it's ended up where I'll be sitting at that table and talking to those people as well to try and gain focus and to give as much of your information as to where we're trying to push these things and make it go forward. So obviously when I talk I'm talking Mark and Sam. It's a pair of us, both our heads are into this and our hearts are into this as much as we can be. So this is just the startup, the steering committee to get it all organised. What has come forward is what we should do, is the smart way to do it, is start with a GoFundMe. So this is with a target of $250,000. This is because we're going to spend that money flat out in the process of getting things going, getting things started and getting things right. So making sure that the likes of Constitution, the likes of bylaws, the likes of members that actually will end up with employed staff. I don't know who those are going to be at all. That's certainly not the me and Sam side of things, but that's people of value to our community. So we can end up with real continuity and have people that can do this all the time. Most organisations which have their hearts in exactly the right place, their heads in exactly the right place, but trying to do things in a volunteer side of things end up with compromises because people still have to eat, they still have to live, they still have to do jobs, they still have to do other things. We need to get fast as we can to a point where we can actually have employees in the organisation which are dedicated to their jobs. These will be productivity-based jobs. These will not be DEI hires. There will be people that need to be doing the work to do this. This also turns into a group which we need to grow rapidly into, where we take memberships. There'll be different grades of memberships, but it is memberships on the individual basis. As much as we do want to be able to work with other groups and other organisations, there will be no organisational votes. There will be no organisations that can steer this group off into a different way. We are there for the people, for you. So, and when I say you, right at this moment, okay, you've got West Australian firearm owners. Like I said, this is Australian firearm owners. Everyone should be involved with this. This has actually got a far bigger plan. The bigger plan is actually trying to get our government to have to listen to us. And I'm not just talking local government, I'm not talking state government, I'm talking the whole way up. We have a broken political system. If we haven't put enough energy into this, we can create it to where we have some power to be able to influence things. They largely, most of our parties have turned into things that are simply there to get elected back in again. They really are taking the mealy mouth, less than the best by a long shot, but ones that they think they can gain more votes with because they're just buying votes. They're just using your tax dollars to buy votes. So we're not trying to take that system over in the fashion of where a better party that does this, that gets bought out as well. No, we'll end up where we can influence the votes, where they have to do the right thing by us, sort of idea. Be it lobbying, and I suppose I should get into the other things this raises into is what the plan of this organisation is beyond that. At this stage, there's at least three. There's probably 4 portfolios that it needs to split up into. There is obviously the administration of running an organisation, and whether that's running demonstrations or that's running protests or that's running campaigns against what the government's doing, or being able to organise things, having a seat at the table with government or with unelected government like the likes of the police. So we need to be able to organise that, and our administration side of that can do that side of things, and that's also go through where it comes to where it's voting for members in this sort of organisation, or it's working out where your membership money goes, that sort of stuff, running a bank account, all that side of things, one part of what this needs to be. Another part of it is the promotion slash lobbying slash all that side of things. So whether that's running campaigns in the fashion of advertising campaigns, whether largely my focus tends to go down route of pro shooter, pro firearms, pro four-wheel drives, pro whatever that turns into. It is actually showing the good side of our recreational side, the wonderful side of our country and what that's doing. There's also the negative side of things, of what bad policy does. The likes of all the feral animals that are destroying our native flora and fauna, and how bad that's going to be with the mismanagement that our government's up to. They seem to have no care about that. To put that forward in all the fashions we can. but it's also to go through the social side of things and put forward how important all of our recreations are to the humans. Largely the men and women that are, to the largest degree, this is their recreation. They work so hard building and doing the rest of what Australia needs, and then getting their recreation taken away because it doesn't suit the inner city or the whatever those people are that want to give our country away and change it into a different thing. And then the third side of that sort of stuff moves into the full-blown of the working out what to do in the legal side of things, and working out what to do in the way of structuring ourselves to get the best political advantages in various forms. What I'm really saying out of all that sort of stuff, and I might not have got that quite right in the fashion of those details, is that will be organised to where that turns into where there are portfolios, there are people managing things, and then we can start to work our way forward. This also turns into a lot into using the best we can. These are the people, these are good people that we're talking about, that I'm putting forward at this moment, that have their heart in the right place, that I've certainly had lots of conversation with, and there's not a soul that doesn't feel the injustice of what's happening right now, that doesn't feel the injustice that's happening to so many other groups in our communities as well, and really is just trying to find a way to get things started, to start to push back. But all are ready to move over to the next best person or the best person. If there's someone better out there, there's someone that's more driven out there, if there's someone as a better figurehead, if there's all these people, we need to draw from our whole community, and we need to build our whole community. And this needs to turn into a lot bigger thing as the months and years go by. But at this moment, there's a GoFundMe. So down there, the target is $250,000 is what we want to hit in this GoFundMe for the first, I don't know what sort of months involved in that, but for the first, get it going, make it all happen. There will be full disclosure, absolute disclosure from the total of what's going on there to the bank accounts to everything. This is all about disclosure, and this is all with names and everything involved. So everything we will do will be accounted for and accountable. So we make sure that we're doing this as to go forward, including that if this doesn't work, if there's not enough people that actually are going to put their money where their mouth is, and I've already heard a lot of people say they will, and they've been waiting for something to do. But let's say there isn't. Let's say that doesn't work out. Well, there will be a full refund of the balance. And I say the balance, a full refund is the wrong thing to say, it's of the balance, but that means if there is $70,000 raised and there's $5,000 been spent organising with all the bits and pieces, which will be disclosed what it was spent on trying to do that, then there's only going to be $65,000. So you might only get 95 cents in the dollar sort of thing back. But there will be a full refund if we don't get there. I cannot believe that the mess that Australia's in, politically wise, moving into socially wise, but certainly driven out of largely our unelected government and the mess that they're creating, driven by our institutions, driven by all those problems there. I cannot believe that people wouldn't be a part of this. So I'm for go, go, go. In speaking to some of the people there, their comment is, if we set a target of $250,000, once we get to over $150,000, then we kick the ball rolling. Then we're confident enough to be able to keep it going and start spending some money. But that's the process to actually make things happen. Get as large as we can, as fast as we can, trying to get some power, try and rattle the cages of the government and of the police to where the police minister and the police to say, wait a minute, this is something that's coming. Maybe we want to rethink things a little bit, but be prepared to be on other people's side too. So get this organisation to be prepared to work together. Like I said, four-wheel drivers, farmers, fishers, you name it. Let's work together. Let's get more people involved. Let this turn into something big. This is more about freedoms or about, who knows, this may turn into something that turns into creating a Bill of Rights. We're a country that hasn't been through, we're a very young country. We haven't been through the wars, the fights to create something to protect ourselves. And the way we've bumbled along in the lucky country, we've ended up with, no, we don't actually have any rights or freedoms that are granted to us or rights to us. And maybe it's time that we change that and push that back. It got something to keep the bastards honest. Anyway, I'm sure there's a dozen more things I should be saying in that. It all comes out of my head as what it is. I've had lots of conversations over the last few days. Certainly was getting very frustrated with it was taking too long to get going. Lots of reasons for trying to be thorough, and lots of things happened and lots of water under the bridge. Really, no point crying over spilt milk. I feel this is a real way forward. This comes down to you now. You want to be part of this, then there is a GoFundMe. Let's make that happen. I think we should be able to steamroll and get going, and then there is the energy that's here, and of course the energy that'll come with people's suggestions and what they want to do. Once we've started this process, then we'll work out a membership process we can do that. I think tiers of memberships is very relevant for this sort of stuff. We've got a voting system and work out a way and put proposals forward and get your feedback on what we need to do and agreements or disagreements with that sort of stuff. We need some unity is the main thing amongst all organisations, amongst all groups. We're all on the same side. To stop the infighting. Become bigger than that, where we're going to be there to support all groups, but not be attached to the infighting and the stuff that we've got going already. And all groups, and I mean that, all groups. Yes, some have got a bad name at this moment. There's some groups that are maybe not done as much as you thought they should. My honest thoughts are, let that water wash under the bridge. That's spilt milk, that's done. Don't understand, as I've said before, they are no more than they are. Let's not worry about that. Let's get us to something large. Let's get us with a seat at the table. Let's get us with people we can trust, which are talking to you, which are communicating, and let's find a way forward. We can do this. It's not just the firearms community, it's everyone, but the fight right now is to see what we can do in the way of letting the government know that no, it's not okay what you did, and we're not going to let you get to the other side of this one so you can drag it around the country and then go to the next tier. We're going to make it accountable right now. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts. There's a link down there for the GoFundMe. I would like to see it get to where we've got to get to in a hurry. I'd really like to get this thing going. We've got the people ready to go. This is the litmus test, or the proof that your hearts are in it and you're prepared to do it. Don't give more than you can. I'm not asking for a lot, but if you can help with this sort of stuff, get that total up. It will keep rising. You'll be able to see what's going on there, and let's get on with this fight. Let's get our country back. Thanks for checking in, guys. We'll catch you next time.